with my college football schedule preview and point spread prediction videos. Today I'll be doing the Colorado Buffaloes. And so Colorado has one guaranteed win in the non-conference against Delaware because they're an FCS team. And Wyoming, I wouldn't call it a guaranteed win for Colorado because Wyoming, I know, is sometimes a good group of five team, and I know they did upset Texas Tech in 2023, but this is about as close to a guaranteed win for Colorado as it gets. And Georgia Tech, though, is a concerning game for Colorado because Colorado's run defense is not very good. Uh, for example, last year, even though Colorado won 9 games, they only went against two good running teams, Kansas State and Kansas, and they were 0-2 in those games. And Georgia Tech is very much a running team. Their starting running back, Jamal Haynes, is a for sure a future NFL running back. And Colorado has 6 different opponents in the conference than they did last year. So last year they played Baylor, Central Florida, Cincinnati, Texas Tech, Kansas, and Oklahoma State. And this year, instead, they will play Houston, BYU, TCU, Iowa State, West Virginia, and Arizona State. And that makes the conference schedule much tougher because those 6 opponents that they played last year, none of them were even close to top 25 teams. And 3 of these new opponents, BYU, Iowa State and Arizona State are going to be preseason top 25 teams, and Colorado is not going to be a preseason top 25 team. And TCU was a team that was about as good as Colorado was last year, and they're not losing two first round draft picks like Colorado is. And Colorado's worst part of the schedule is going to be the 3 in a row of BYU, TCU, and Iowa State. There's no chance of Colorado going 3-0 and that, but it is nice that they get their first bye week before a road game against Utah, which is a team that is much more physical than Colorado is, but it's hard for me to imagine Colorado beating BYU because not only did BYU destroy them in the bowl game last year, Colorado did not do near as well in the transfer portal as they did in Deion Sanders' first 2 years. They only finished at 41st, and they only added 19 players. And I know it sounds strange to say only for that amount, but for Colorado, it's not very much. And BYU returns L.J. Martin at running back, a player that gave Colorado a lot of problems in the bowl game. And BYU returns to Chase Roberts, one of the best receivers in the Big 12 last season. And BYU's quarterback, Retzloff, is a better passer than the Liberty transfer, Caden Salter, who's probably going to be Colorado's starting quarterback. And even though Salter is a dangerous runner, so is Retzloff. And the two games that I would feel the most confident on Colorado's conference schedule of them winning would be at Houston and Arizona. Even though there's no games on Colorado's conference schedule that I'd say they have 100% chance of winning. But Arizona, I would feel more confident about Colorado winning than Houston because Houston, I think, might be a bowl team this year because they do return the coach from Tulane for a second season. His name's Willie Fritz, and he's a proven coach. And Houston did pull one upset win against Kansas State last year. And Arizona loses McMillan at wide receiver, who was pretty much their offense last year. And their offense was terrible last year, even with him. But Houston and Arizona are both very low talent teams. And Colorado is, I think, going to have more depth this year than they've had in Deion Sanders' first 2 years because he finally decided to start recruiting some, and he did recruit 8 players that were at least a 4 star. And Colorado does return their defensive coordinator for a second season. Livingston is his name, and while Colorado's defense was nothing amazing last year, I will say it was a lot better than I thought it would be. And West Virginia would probably be the third worst conference opponent on Colorado's schedule, but West Virginia can be a tough place to play. And the toughest two in a row on this schedule has got to be the end of Arizona State and Kansas State. So it is good that Colorado gets a bye week before Arizona State because with an extra week to prepare and home field advantage, I think that will give Colorado a little bit of a chance in this game, but I would say it's unlikely for Colorado to win it because Arizona State would have beat Colorado last year, and Colorado only returns 50% of their production, which is 29% less than Arizona State does. And it's hard for me to imagine Colorado beating Kansas State because Colorado couldn't beat Kansas State last year when they had Shador Sanders and 4 good wide receivers. And this year, Colorado not only loses Shador Sanders, but they lose all 4 of those wide receivers. And Avery Johnson is a better passer than Salter is. And Kansas State's uh, Dylan Edwards, the former Colorado running back, is a concern for Colorado in this one because in the bowl game last year against Rutgers, who had a better defensive line last year than Colorado is probably going to have, he rushed for nearly 200 yards. I think he's going to be one of the country's best running backs. And another concern in this one for Colorado is coaching. You could easily make the argument that Chris Kleiman is the best coach in the Big 12 right now because Kansas State has been the most consistently good football team in the conference the last several years. And Deion Sanders, the truth about him is he's just a fan that watches the game from the sidelines. So now for the point spread prediction, games in the green are games where I think Colorado will be favored to win by a blowout, 20 or more points, and there's 2 of those, Delaware and Wyoming. Games in the purple are games where I think they'll be favored to win by about a touchdown, 6 to 9 points, and there's one of those, Arizona. Games in the pink are games where I think they'll be favored to win by about a field goal, 1 to 5 points, and there's 3 of those: Georgia Tech, Houston, and West Virginia. Games in the gray are games where I think Colorado will be about a field goal underdog, and there's 4 of those: TCU, Iowa State, Utah, and Arizona State. Games in the yellow are games where I think Colorado will be about a touchdown underdog, and there's one of those Kansas State games in the orange or games where I think Colorado will be a double digit underdog, 10 to 19 points, and there's one of those at BYU. So Delaware, Colorado should be favored in that one by like 40 points, and Wyoming, I think the spread in that one will be around 20 points, and Georgia Tech is just in the pink because it's a home game. It'd be a gray game if it was on the road, but Colorado will probably only be favored by like a point in that one. And Houston would be in the purple if it was at home, but because it's on the road, I think Colorado will be favored by maybe 5 points in that one. And Arizona, I think the spread in that one will be about 7 points. And West Virginia, wouldn't be shocking because it's on the road if that ends up being a gray game when it comes time for it to be played. But right now, I'll say Colorado will be favored by a point or two in it. And Arizona State will probably be favored by, I'll say, 5 points over Colorado. It'd be a yellow game if it was on the road. And Kansas State, it's in the yellow because it's on the road. It'd be in the gray at home, but I'll say Kansas State will be favored by 6 over Colorado. And Utah, it's in the gray because it's on the road. It'd be in the pink if it was a home game, but the spread will probably just be like a point, and it wouldn't be shocking if Colorado ends up favored anyway. And Iowa State, I'll say, will be a 3 point favorite over Colorado. And TCU, I think they'll be, I'll say, a 3 point favorite over Colorado. And BYU is in the orange because of how bad they beat Colorado last year. Comparing rosters, it'd probably make more sense for it to be in the yellow, but I'll say BYU will be favored by around 2 touchdowns, 13 or 14 or 15 points against Colorado. So that will be it with this video. Please subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon.